Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Aaron Witten, who's the founder of Witten Financial Services. Aaron, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Hey, I'm excited to chat with you. I always love learning about how people approach their business and transform the lives of the people they work with in their unique ways. So give us a little bit of your background and your entrepreneurial journey.
Well, it's a twisted one, but not in a bad way. It's kind of that journey you go on through life. I kind of call myself, to some extent, an accidental entrepreneur because it seemed to me like from a very young age that was just the way I could gain freedom, right, if nothing else. I grew up in a modest, probably lower middle income home. Both my parents were teachers, and literally I remember the start of my journey back about 9 years old when I told my father, I said, hey, I want to go to the store and buy a yo-yo. And he's like, with what money? And I said, well, with your money. And he says, well, if you want that, you're going to have to save up for it and, or get a job or something. So saving up my allowance for $1 a week over the next year. And I started a sports card shop when I was 10 years old. And that helped pay for my first car and my second car. And wow. and the rest is history. I've owned one business or another since I've been 10 and most recently and, of course, current in financial services for 22 years now. So yeah. I think I finally have found my passion.
Yeah, I love that story because your father could have gone, okay, here's this, let me write the check, or, oh, let me get it for you. And then it's kind of like the old quote unquote trust fund baby concept, right? Where, it's like if you ask for something and get it and didn't have to work hard for it, how much do you really appreciate it? I have used this example so many times over the years. When I was in high school, one of my friends turned 16. His parents bought him a car, and it was a brand new Porsche because they were from a rich family. And I remember going, where do you go from here? My old beater first car, you want to earn money and get a better one. Well, for him, it's like, okay, you're kind of starting at the top. So where do you go? And I think that it's also like the example of the caterpillar and the butterfly. If they don't struggle getting out of the cocoon, then their blood is not flowing the right way, so their wings form correctly. So if you help them out, then you're actually doing them a disservice. So I really love that story of hey, you want this? Earn it. So how do you take that mindset into your work with your clients?
So my main client base is small business owners, right? That's kind of been what I have been for almost 36 years and kind of what I have a passion and a knowledge for. In particular, small business owners in the toy and game industry, which that's a separate episode, right, as to how I got into that. But the thing is that I realize that the day you start a small business, right, be it a hobby turn to business or a hobby you never intended to turn into business and all of a sudden the tax man comes or whatever, you're not given like this giant Bible, like the first day you decide to hang your shingle and own a business saying, okay, great, here's all the steps to running your business, keeping it in compliance, keeping it profitable, hiring and firing employees, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I really like those, again, I'll call it accidental entrepreneurs, right? That stumble into my practice kind of bruised a little bit saying, I had no idea I had to sign up for, local payroll tax, or I had no idea I needed to file a certain type of tax return or whatever, right? And so I guess that's my passion, like is mentoring, right? Small business owners in particular. And, I'm like any other wealth advisor where I do a fair amount of, individual and family planning type stuff, but I don't know, small business is just kind of where my passion is, right? So I love those type of clients.
Yeah, I feel your passion and agree because I've worked with, have you ever heard of or worked with the SBDC, Small Business Development Center?
Yes, I have.
So I've consulted with them, with clients here in the Denver area for over 10 years. And, when you see stats about how small business drives our economy, it's staggering.
Right.
And and I love how, when someone gets that entrepreneurial bug and they jump, from corporate America to entrepreneurialism, the time in the last decade or so, it's been so easy because you don't need to quit your job and launch into an entrepreneurial journey and buy a franchise or put up big money, because whatever you want to get into, you can slowly create a side gig and build as you go. But to your point, there are a lot of things that you don't know until you know them, and being able to work with someone like yourself that, of course, we need to plan financially. We need to have insurances or plans or whatever all of those number things entail. We need to have those in place. But if you are looking at a holistic, full 360-degree approach to a business owner's success, now all of that plays nicely together, right?
Well, exactly. Right. I mean, I've got a lot of advisor friends, 20 years in business, it's hard not to, but when I tell them about how my accounting and bookkeeping OBA is, number one, kind of the foothold right into these clients' lives, because it seems like nothing will scare a small business owner quicker than a tax notice of some sort. Right. Yeah. But the thing is that when I show them how basically the tax planning, right, and showing them how to run a good profitable business then leads to wealth creation, and then leads to, doing group retirement plans and big asset planning, right, their jaws hit the floor, right, because it's just like, oh, wow, I've got 1,000 clients. I wish I had time to do that with all my clients. And so I guess I kind of built my practice the right way. At least I feel like for me, because I don't have 1,000 clients. I've got maybe like 60. Okay. But those 60 keep me and my staff very busy and very well fed. Right. And I'm seeing those businesses improve every day and creating wealth for those families, changing their lives completely, maybe even changing their family tree in some circumstances. So,
well, if you had, 360 rather than 60, at some point is the tipping point where they may feel like I'm just another number. Aaron gets to me once a year and I get that automated blah, 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 or, oh yeah, he answers a question eventually. But when you can pour into the lives of these people and they feel that, that's wrapping your arms around your clients as a family and making that difference. And your last point there, many times you are changing their family tree / legacy, because finances, whether it's like you've said, taxes, tax prep, retirement, future, all of those things that money entails, man alive, that really has great positive and negative impacts based on how you handle the money. And boy, I'll bet you that, in fact, let me ask, do you have an example of when someone said, Aaron, I've been your client for so long, and let me just tell you, you recommended something and we took advantage of that, and boy, it could have gone the wrong way, but look at how this turned out, and who cares names and specifics, but has someone come back to you where you go, yes, that's what it's all about?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, probably the most recent, again, not to get into specifics, but was a doctor client of mine who's actually a solo entrepreneur, right? Yep. He kind of felt like he's mid-50s, and I don't want to give away any more identifying information, but I feel that's important to the timeline here. And, he's made it, he's in good shape debt-wise, doesn't have any, he's got all of his retirements funded, this and that, and he kind of comes to me and he's like, is there more, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, now we're at the point we can have fun with your money, right? Because one of the big things, being a certified Kingdom advisor, like that I feel is almost like the gift under the Christmas tree for a lot of my clients, which is the end game, which is unlocking those resources to do good, right? While you're around to see it happen. I mean, I don't want to talk down to anyone in the traditional estate planning process, because I feel like it's very important. And I feel like charity is hugely important, whether you give a little, whether you give a lot, whether you give while you're alive, whether you give while you're dead, just give, right? That's a big part of who I am and what I teach, to my entrepreneurs in what I call the last stage of wealth, right? And so the thing is that I set up a donor advised fund for him a few years ago and was teaching him about the whole, went technical on him, said, okay, well, this is going to be better for you tax-wise, and, hopefully with some growth, it's going to be better charity-wise, and, it separates the timing of the gift from when you actually have to give it, right? And so that's helpful because you can accumulate resources and then give them away en masse to charities as they come up with these urgent requests and stuff, right? And so he was always like, well, I feel like I've never been able to give to those because I never seem like I have $10,000, or I'm just making up a number, right? But all at once, I have $50 a month, or I have $500 a month, but I don't have $10,000 all at once, right? Because I've got a young family. I said, no, and I'm there with you. I said, so we set this up for him a few years ago, kind of asking to kind of step out on faith a little bit, saying, hey, I feel like this is what God wants you to do, right? I mean, I'm pretty convicted in this. I mean, if you're feeling that lag in your life, this is probably what's missing, right? And sure enough, he come back, I think it was early this year, after giving away almost 3 times more than what he planned to give away the last couple of years, right? Okay. And he's still got resources there. He's like, why in the world did I not do this 10 years ago, right? Like the smiles on people's faces, right, when we're able to help, missionaries and causes that win. And a preface here, he's a deeply Christian client, right? Okay. But he had never heard of this before. And when we started going down this path, he's calling me all the time, like, hey, let's transfer some stock because I want to give away $10,000 here or $5,000 there or something like that. And I can just hear it in his voice, right? He's just so happy, right? And joy-filled about it. So, I'm trying to get all of my entrepreneurs to that point, right? Because, in a business, your wealth typically will accumulate faster, right, than publicly held shares. Well, that is if you're not gambling, right? If you're not buying penny stocks and stuff. But the thing is that there comes a point where you have enough, right? And you're taking care of your family, which is one thing we're all commanded to do, right? Those of us who are Christians especially, right? But the thing is you're not commanded to just store up massive amounts of wealth and then pass it along when you die, right? You're commanded to help those people around you whenever you can and as often as you can. And so I really, really enjoyed that part of my job more than anything. Not only telling a client, hey, look, you've made it, right? The retirement plan has worked. You've made it. We've hit that goal. And then I get to talk to them about the next phase, right? And every client that's gone with me on that journey, I won't say it's everyone, right? I said, but everyone that's gone with me on that journey has not been disappointed, right? And it creates tremendous joy in me too, right? Kind of living through them vicariously, knowing that they're unlocking resources now instead of the world having to wait 30 years for them to die, right? And so I'm sorry if I'm sidetracking a little bit, but I'm very passionate about the giving part of my practice.
That is right on the money, right in the question that I asked. And I love your, your series of facets of success on your website: organize, protect, grow, and give. Because it's kind of like ready, aim, fire. Most of the people feel like ready, fire, 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 and then maybe aim. So organize first. Yeah, we got to organize, and then we got to protect. Okay, good. Now we're ready to grow, whatever that looks like and feels like. But then we don't just stop at grow, because that then is an accumulation, could be viewed as selfish, because how much is enough? And like it's been said from whoever it was back in the day, how much more do you need? And he's like, just a little bit more. Well, maybe that give aspect. Boy, if you can live in that realm, once you've gotten to the point of, hey, I'm taking care of my family and everything's set, and now what? Because how many more toys do you need in theory? But if we can create that give aspect, and from that kingdom focus and giving where, yes, I want to set my family up for a long legacy, but maybe there is that nonprofit charity, and especially a kingdom-focused missionary. I mean, I've said this so many times where it's like I teach the college and career Sunday school class at our church, and many times I'll say to the students, and they don't have 2 nickels to rub together, but I'm like, you need to make sure you make plans for handling your money the right way, handling debt the right way. Because back in the day, I made wrong mistakes. Let me tell you the pain it created. Let me tell you how I solved it. But you do not want to be sitting in a service and hearing a missionary come through going, wow, let me show you the field God has led me to. And also, here's the need that we have to build this, whatever, it is. And you're like, oh, I want to give to that. Oh, I don't have the money. So if you can be prepared financially, and like in your example there, that can look like a whole myriad ways of what could that look like to be prepared and to give, but it just really takes the lid off of the cap of the traditional view of help me with my money so I can plan for retirement. Man, if you can take that timeline and have an arrow that goes further past beyond just the normal, my life expectancy is expected to be this, so let me plan for retirement. Wow, that legacy is a big thing. And I think that, and I guess I'll end that discourse by saying, what have you found when you work with your clients in that realm with their mindset and they go, you know what? I used to think of at the end being when I retire or when I die, but now, wow, with this giving, this legacy aspect, I'm looking way down beyond to be able to give to kingdom causes, family causes. Doesn't that kind of excite the people that you work with to have that vision enhanced and enlarged?
In general, I think it does. I think most people, let's just be honest. Like, it's one of the topics that people don't talk about openly, right? And that is their money, right? And so you're already dealing with them in a very private area of their life, right? And so to be able to earn that trust and keep that trust, number one, is paramount, right, in a practice. It's the reason I give thanks for 22 years in business, right? Clearly I do that, or I try to strive to do that with most of my clients because I wouldn't be here otherwise, right? But the thing is being able to unlock that additional layer for them and getting them to look at this world from a kingdom view, is absolutely just astounding to me because, I think it was in Randy Alcorn's book, which by the way is what's made me put give into my practice. I read Randy Alcorn's book on
the treasure principle.
Money and eternity. Well, it's an expansion of that. It's called On Possessions, Money, and Eternity.
Okay, cool. I'm literally staring on my bookshelf now of Randy Alcorn's book, The Treasure Principle. So it's like, oh, what a coincidence that would be. But yeah, Randy Alcorn, great author.
So Treasure Principle is kind of like the Sunday school version, right? Yeah. And then, not to water it down, it's still good stuff, right? But then a step on top of that is Managing God's Money, right? Which is a little deeper dive, and then the granddaddy, right? If you want to score some theological points, right, is On Money, Possessions, and Eternity by Randy Alcorn. And it's not a fast read, right? And it's hugely convicting, right? I give a copy to all my Christian clients, right? And I'm just like, read this, and when you get a chance to read it, let's talk about it, right? Because I just want your opinions on things. Because this was the book that really changed my personal views, right? On like I said before, looking at the current world from a kingdom point of view. So many good financial advisors or even financial radio personalities will say, we've got to pay off all your debt and we've got to secure your retirement and, and all that stuff before we get to the point of giving. And I would nearly have an argument about that at this point, right? Because the thing is Randy's point he makes throughout the book is he says basically, and he backs up with scripture, and don't hold it against me. I can't remember which scriptures they are at the moment because I'm just not gifted like that. But the thing is he basically says the Lord is guaranteeing you a 10,000% rate of return, right? Basically, and through the passages of the Bible, it's like 100-fold time, and so he points it out. He says, where in the world are you going to get a better rate of return than that, right? Like he talks very materialistically for just a moment, right? He's just like to the non-believers, right? Or to the ones that are baby believers, right? Where you're not going to make that anywhere else, right? You're like, so the thing is that when you look at things from that perspective, right? And I'm not saying cash out a bunch of stuff and do that, right? I'm just saying when you start giving $50 a month to your favorite charity, right? And just put it on the debit card and forget about it. Just schedule like one of your normal bills. And then you realize principles like that, and you're doing that for all of a sudden 20, 30 years, right before you pass away. Like, the money to that charity today is worth tremendously more than a larger sum of money in 20 or 30 years, right? It's the whole time value of money argument, right? And so I've started doing that personally in a lot of my giving because of that book, where I'll give to 3 or 4 dozen charities. Well, not that many, maybe it's a couple dozen, $25, $50 a month, just automatically on my credit card. And then, just along with my utility bills and things like that. And I never miss it. But yet I get these letters from these charities and stuff like that about the impact of things. And I'm just, it's I don't know. It's one of the biggest buzzes I can encourage anyone to do in their life, right, is don't write a check once a year, right, to Operation Christmas Child to send a shoebox across the world, right? Send them a little money each month, right, just like you'd pay any other bill. And, man, that adds up to a lot of money over a period of time. And these charities, especially after COVID, right, these charities need it. Right,
it's like a hard attitude mindset shift, not for a formula, because you cannot go, oh, cool, I read that book and I hear what you're saying, so I'm going to send X to, this place so that I get that 10,000%. It's not a cosmic formula. It's a mindset and a heart attitude of, I want to support this kingdom work, so I want to have my money be used and multiplied, and that's wonderful. And you mentioned Operation Christmas Child. I would even challenge someone hearing this to go, that's a wonderful organization, and definitely write that check. But you know what would be even more rewarding? Wow, why don't you get the information off their website, and why don't you go get some shoe boxes and follow their little instructions of what to put in, because there's certain things you can't. Yeah, with my family and we've got 4 kids, and we've done that for several years, where we will get the boxes, we will create throughout the year, we're going to save this for the Operation Christmas Child, and we'll build the boxes and we'll put them all in there and then pray over the boxes and drop them off. What a huge blessing that is. Yeah, the money's good. They need money, but they also need to have you go, you know what? I'm going to drop off some boxes too.
And in my life, this has been woven into my life for a long time. I just didn't realize it until after reading, this book, not even 10 years ago, right? I was raised in a good Christian home, and I'm thankful for that. And my family's always been very civically involved. Like our charity of choice that we donate our time to is Lions Club International, right? So we're a big part of our local club and our district and things like that. And the thing is that time, right? Like what you're talking about, time and resources outside of money, right? Also count towards that, right? You're furthering the Great Commission, right? With your time, with your gifts, with your money, right? And so, in my opinion, the Lord smiles on all of that, right? And that's if you want to be right with someone, it's Him, right? That's what I've learned in life, right? Because if you're not right with Him, then there's all sorts of chaos that descends upon your life, So it's one of those things where even my son, he's almost 17 now, but like he looks forward every year to serving a week in the hot sun in our concession booth for raising money for the Lions at the county fair every year. Like that's just what he looks forward to every year. And he doesn't, we don't give him anything, right? He doesn't even want to hang out with his friends at the fair. He'd rather sling ice cream and sodas, for 12 hours. And we're just like, hey, that's, there are much worse attitudes to have in teenagers, for sure. Right. I'm very fortunate to have one that had been raised seeing this, right, and knowing that this is important, right? So
yeah, awesome. Well, Aaron, it's been really super connecting with you, and we could probably go on for another hour and a half and be just catching our first breath. So let's wrap up with, what's the best way that people can reach out, connect with you, and learn more about what you do in the lives of your community and clients?
Oh, sure. So, practice phone number is 270-200-1056, or you can find us online at www.wittenfinancial.com. You're always welcome to email me directly too, Aaron, Aaron, at wittenfinancial.com. Do give me a couple days, though. I get quite a bit of email, and it takes me a few days to respond. But, I would love to talk or mentor or give advice to anyone because, I started as the struggling entrepreneur many, many, many years ago. Probably made all the mistakes an entrepreneur can make, you would think, right? And I would be glad to help any aspiring entrepreneur or even new Christian giver to maybe hopefully avoid some of those pitfalls. So
awesome. Sounds great, Aaron. Thank you so much for coming on.
No problem, Mike.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.